Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into a topic today that could really hit your wallet hard, especially if you're a younger driver, or maybe you're like, helping out a new driver figure out this crazy world of car insurance.
Yeah, for sure. We're going deep on black box insurance. You might know it as telematics insurance.
Okay, so black box insurance sounds kind of like, I don't know, mysterious. What is it?
It's actually pretty simple. Just imagine like a tiny little device. It's in your car, or maybe it's an app, right, on your phone. And it's basically watching how you drive.
So it's like this silent passenger, just like judging my every move.
Well, maybe not judging, but it is keeping track, like how fast you're going, how hard you brake, taking those corners, even what time of day you're out driving around.
So if I'm weaving through traffic and like slamming on my brakes at every red light, my insurance company's going to know.
Let's just say they'll definitely get a good idea about, your driving style. But here's the thing, and this is where it gets good. So unlike regular insurance, the kind that just looks at your age and your driving record, black box insurance, this looks at you, how you actually drive.
So basically you're proving to them, hey, I'm a good driver. And they're like, okay, we see that. Here's a discount.
Exactly. So it can be a really great deal, especially for younger drivers, because, they're usually the ones stuck with those crazy high insurance rates just because they're young.
Makes sense. We've all been there, right? Those early years, insurance seems impossible.
Right. And that's because statistically, younger drivers, well, they tend to get into more accidents. So regular insurance companies, they just charge them more to cover that risk. But black box insurance, it's different. Gives those young folks a chance to show off their skills, maybe pay a little less.
Okay, starting to see why it's so popular. But let's get specific. What are the actual good things about black box insurance?
Well, the biggest one is you can save money, lower premiums, And for a young person on a budget, well, that's a big deal, especially when you're just starting out.
Yeah, I remember those days. Every dollar counted. But it's got to be more than just saving money, right?
Absolutely. There's more. Black box insurance, it can actually make you a safer driver. Think about it. Someone's watching. You're less likely to speed or take those crazy risks, right?
It's like having that little voice in your head saying, hey, slow down. Makes the road safer for everyone.
Exactly. And like I said earlier, these policies, they're all about you. How you drive, not about lumping you in with everyone else your age.
I love that. Like, hey, we're judging you on what you do, not on some dumb stereotype about young drivers. But I'm guessing it can't be all good. What about the downsides? What should young drivers look out for before jumping into a black box policy?
That is a great question, and that's what we're going to dig into.
Okay, perfect. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
So we were talking about downsides. Black box insurance, what are they?
Right. It sounds like it could be a pretty good deal if you're, a careful driver. But there's got to be some catches, right?
There are definitely things to think about. I think for a lot of people, the big one is privacy. Having every single move you make on the road tracked, it can feel a little creepy.
Yeah, I get that. It's one thing if it's just my speed. But some of these things, they can see where you are, even how smoothly you're accelerating.
Exactly. And that's just too much for some people. Even if they're not doing anything wrong, it's a real concern.
For sure. So you said good driving can mean lower costs, but can a black box actually make your insurance go up?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. One thing to remember is that even little mistakes can count against you. Like if you brake too hard sometimes, that can actually make your premiums go up.
So you're always under pressure.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you nervous to even drive.
Yeah, some people feel that way. With regular insurance, at least you know what you're paying, even if you mess up a little.
It's predictable.
Yeah.
So are there other downsides? Anything else we should be thinking about?
Well, there's the issue of restrictions. Some black box policies, they don't want you driving at certain times, like late at night, even if you're a safe driver.
Wait, so even if I'm super careful, if I have to drive home late from work, I could be penalized?
That's right. Because statistically, there are more accidents late at night, no matter how good a driver you are.
I see the logic, but come on. What about people who work nights? Or people who just like to drive at night? It's not always about being reckless.
You're right, and that's why it's so important to really read that policy carefully. Before you sign up, make sure it fits how you live and drive.
So how do you know if black box insurance is a good idea for you? What are the key things to think about?
First of all, you got to be honest with yourself about your driving. Are you a careful driver? Do you speed a lot? Brake hard?
Because if you're already a pretty safe driver, you're probably going to do well with the black box.
Exactly. It's all about the scoring system. Different companies, they look at different things. Some care a lot about speed. Some, they really focus on braking hard.
So it's not just about being a good or bad driver. It's about knowing what they're looking for.
Right. You got to do your research, make sure the policy fits you. Like, if you know you speed a little, maybe don't pick a company that's super strict about that.
That makes sense. So what else should people consider when they're making this decision?
Well, think about how comfortable you are with being monitored. If you really value your privacy, maybe black box isn't for you, even if it could save you money.
Right. It's about what's important to you.
Yeah, exactly. Some people are fine with it. They figure, hey, a little less privacy for lower insurance, worth it. But others, they just don't like it. And that's okay. There's no right or wrong answer.
Okay, so driving habits, privacy, what else?
Well, think about your driving patterns. Do you mostly drive during the day? Or are you out there late at night? City driving, highway, all of that matters. It can affect your premiums.
So someone who's mostly cruising on the highway, they're going to have a different experience than someone stuck in rush hour traffic all the time.
Exactly. It's all about context. And these companies are using that context to figure out how risky you are.
This is making me realize just how personalized this stuff is. It's not just about like your age or if you're male or female. It's about you, what you actually do behind the wheel.
That's it. And that's a big change for the insurance industry. They're moving away from those old stereotypes, using data to get a better picture of you as a driver.
But data brings up privacy again, right?
Right.
A lot of people are worried about that with black box insurance. How do these companies handle that?
Yeah, it's a good question. And the good companies, they're taking it seriously. They use all kinds of security stuff, encryption and things like that, to keep your information safe.
So they're not like selling my driving data to advertisers or anything?
Nope. There are laws about that. They can get in big trouble. Plus, they want you to trust them, so they got to protect that information.
That makes me feel better. But even with all that, some people are still going to be a little freaked out.
Of course. And that's totally fine. It's your choice. You got to weigh the pros and cons.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about black box insurance. What's the bottom line? Is this the future of car insurance?
It's definitely shaking things up. And yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more people using it in the future.
Especially younger drivers. They're more comfortable with all the tech stuff.
Exactly. But remember, it's still a new thing. It's going to keep changing. New ideas, new features. Companies are going to keep getting better at figuring out how risky you are as a driver.
That's exciting. It sounds like the future of car insurance is all about using data to make things more personalized.
I think you're right about that. But no matter how fancy the technology gets, the most important thing is still being a safe driver.
Couldn't agree more. That's what matters most. Okay, well, that's about it for our deep dive into black box insurance. Hope you learned something.
It's been great talking about this with you.
And as always, keep learning, keep asking questions, try safe out there.
Thanks for joining us. So, real life examples, you mentioned those before. Who actually benefits the most from this black box thing? Well, we've been talking about young drivers, right? They're the ones these companies are really going after. But even then, it's not so simple.
Right, because like not all young drivers are the same. Some are super careful. Others are, well, still learning.
Exactly. And that's where black box can be really helpful for those careful young drivers. It's a way to prove they're not just another risky teenager, you know? If you're new to driving and you're doing everything right, you could actually save a ton of money.
So it's almost like a reward for good driving.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. And it's not just about the money you save right now. It's also about building good habits, habits that will keep you safe for years to come.
It's like an investment, not just in your wallet, but in your safety too.
Exactly. But it's not just for young drivers. There are other people who might like black box insurance too. Think about people who don't drive during rush hour, or people who live in areas where there's not a lot of traffic. They're less likely to get into accidents, statistically speaking, so they might see lower premiums.
So like if I work from home and only drive to the store during the day when it's quiet, black box might be good for me.
It could be. It's really about thinking about how you drive and then seeing if that matches up with how these insurance companies assess risk.
This is making me realize how personalized this stuff is getting. It's not about being 25 or being a woman or whatever. It's about how you actually drive your car.
That's the big change. The insurance industry is using data to get a much more accurate picture of each individual driver.
But all this data, I know a lot of people are worried about privacy. What do these companies say about that?
It's a valid concern. And the good companies, they're taking it seriously. They use all kinds of security measures to protect your data.
So they're not going to sell my driving data to, like, marketing companies or something?
No, they can't do that. There are laws about data privacy, and they know if they get caught doing shady stuff, they're in big trouble. Plus, they want you to trust them.
Okay, that's good to hear. But even then, some people are just not going to be comfortable sharing all that information.
And that's okay. It's a personal choice. You got to decide what's important to you.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive on black box insurance, what are your final thoughts? Is this the future?
I think it's a big part of the future, yeah. We're going to see a lot more of this technology in the coming years.
Especially as younger people, the ones who grew up with all this technology, they're more comfortable sharing data.
Exactly. But keep in mind, this is all still pretty new. It's going to keep evolving. Companies are going to keep getting better at using data to assess risk. And who knows what new features they'll come up with.
Exciting times. So it sounds like the future of car insurance is going to be all about data and personalized policies.
I think that's a pretty safe bet. But no matter what, the most important thing is still being a safe and responsible driver.
Absolutely. That's something we can all agree on. Well, that brings our deep dive to a close. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We hope you found this exploration of black box insurance insightful.
It's been great chatting with you. And remember, stay curious out there.
And safe travels. Thanks for listening.